Stop whatever you're doing. Let's have a conversation about phone etiquette. Here's the thing, our phones are one of our most beloved possessions these days. We can't go far without it.
Some, especially young people, wear headphones and earphones all the time, even on the streets and while crossing roads. This is poor street behavior and unintelligent. Wearing earphones and headphones will leave you vulnerable to possible unfortunate events like a road accident or even street crime. With all that distraction, you will not be able to detect sounds you would otherwise know were warnings. More and more electric cars and scooters make little noise, which is good for the environment, but will still hurt you if you step in front of one. Awareness is not only for your benefit. Think of the person who may have injured you if you enter their path and ruin at least two people's day.
As discussed in the last video, wearing your headphones, blaring loud music that everyone around you can hear is incredibly inconsiderate and disrespectful. And as the level of distraction from mobile phones is almost impossible to ignore these days, we must learn how to use them properly and politely. And here's the thing, as there is an almost impossible urge to constantly be looking at your phone, here are a few tips that will allow you to circumvent that a bit more appropriately. Number one, keep your phone in your handbag or in your jacket pocket if you're a male, away from where you are conversating with people. If you hear a little bit of buzz or if it's within reach, you will feel tempted to grab it. So keep it away from you, away in a handbag or in a jacket. If sustainable and within budget, purchase something like an Apple Watch where you can not be distracted by the phone. But if you are somebody that needs to have your phone on you because perhaps you need to be in contact with clients, etc., you can have it come up on your watch and then mitigate what is important and what is a priority and then go to your phone. Now, I will say the caveat with this is that I know some Apple Watches or smartwatches, you can do quite a lot from the smartwatch. Do refrain from going in hard and then just doing exactly what you would have done on your phone on your watch. I have been around people who have done that recently and I was like, you may as well just bring out your phone. Now, the other reason why you might want to consider having an Apple Watch as opposed to a phone, especially when you are out walking, which we discussed how to have proper street etiquette recently, is that often I've noticed when people have their phone, they will stop where they are in the road to then text and do something. They don't take themselves off to the side. It just has become such habit. Whereas I do feel like when you are on the go, you're in traffic, you are walking somewhere, you can glance and see what is happening on your mobile device without having to fully go into it. Perhaps you had a meeting cancellation and you're rushing there and you don't need to rush anymore. I do think that these things are important and we can't get away from the fact that they are a part of our everyday society and culture. However, there are ways that we can do it more appropriately and not hinder the people around us. Tip number 3, be mindful of the volume and the topics of conversation. We touched on this a little bit in the last video all about public transportation etiquette, but I do think that it is important to now talk about it again in regards to phone etiquette, because some people culturally don't realize that they speak quite loud. I've seen quite a few TikToks recently talking about how the American accent is quite grating when you're on holiday and you can hear it. And as someone who has a very similar accent to an American accent, I am always trying to be aware of my volume, actually I had a very lovely comment recently asking if my podcast will be sans of any vocal fry, and I'm working on it. And I think that everyone around here who's watching these videos are trying to be hyper aware to the things that they are working on. But with that being said, when we are talking about phone etiquette in specific, we are going to want to be hyper aware to the volume and the topics in which we are speaking about on the phone, especially when out in public. So if you went on a date last night, it's probably not the most appropriate to be talking about exactly what happened when you are out and about in public having this conversation on the phone. Reserve that to maybe perhaps when you have come home and you are cooking and you have some private time. Equally, what I've noticed is when you are on public transportation or you are out and about and you're trying to have a conversation, you are not aware and you're not moving as quickly or efficiently as you could if you weren't on the phone. phone. So perhaps you are on the phone as you're going through the checkout line and you're delayed because you're not thinking about what the cashier is saying to you because you're on your phone. Or perhaps you're having this conversation while you are on the train and your arm is up and you're hitting the person beside you. I took the tube in London recently and I've never been on the tube so packed. My husband and I couldn't even get on the same tube, like train compartment, because it was so packed. I couldn't imagine being on my phone and having my arm up like this and then hitting my neighbor beside me. So be aware of that.
Etiquette benefits both you and others. Well, your consideration on the streets, in parks, and other public spaces means that others will have a more pleasant, comfortable time, not bump into you or listen to music, and if they are a friend or acquaintance, they will be able to attract your attention. Isn't that what you would like? Let me know if you agree in the comments. I hope you'll stay tuned for the next video where we're continuing our conversation all about etiquette.